Hello everyone, welcome back to one more episode of Pod Life Express. In Genesis 16, we're told the story of a woman named Hagar. Hagar was an Egyptian woman who was enslaved by Sarah, the wife of Abraham. Abraham had a promise from God that he was going to be the father of many nations. However, his wife Sarah couldn't have children. It seemed that there was going to be a problem with God's promise. So Sarah decided to take matters into her own hands. She gave Hagar to Abraham, and Hagar was forced to marry and get pregnant by Abraham. Hagar did conceive, and this situation caused Hagar to despise Sarah. Sarah blamed Abraham for the way Hagar was treating her and proceeded to mistreat Hagar even worse than before. This treatment drove Hagar to flee from Sarah. While Hagar was running from Sarah, an angel of the Lord found her in the desert near a spring. The angel called her by her name and asked her what she was doing. After Hagar explained that she was running from her mistress, the angel of the Lord instructs her to go back to Sarah and Abraham. The angel tells her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your misery." And here, Hagar gives God the name of El Roi, the God who sees. She says, "Truly, here I have seen him who looks after me." Hagar was an enslaved woman who was mistreated and sexually abused. Her ability to think about all that she had endured and still recognize God and know that he was looking after her is something that we should admire. Hagar obeys the angel of the Lord, and we know that God's promise becomes true in Hagar's life. If we look in the New Testament, Jesus' ministry was comprised of moments making the name Hagar gave God true. In Luke 19, we're told the story of Zacchaeus, who was described as a son of Abraham, the product of the promise made to Abraham. The Bible tells us that Zacchaeus was a tax collector and very rich. When Jesus was passing through Jericho, and Zacchaeus wanted to see him, but he was super short, and so he couldn't see over the crowd. So he climbed up a sycamore tree so that he could see Jesus. Jesus saw him and called him down from the tree and told him that he needed to stay at Zacchaeus' house. The Bible tells us that Zacchaeus welcomed him gladly. He gave away half of his possessions to the poor, and he paid the people that he cheated 4 times over. By his changed behavior, Zacchaeus did not only welcome Jesus into his house, but welcomed Jesus into his heart. And in one of his final moments before his death, we're told about Jesus' conversation with 2 criminals on the crosses next to him. Luke 23, verse 39 tells us, "One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. 'Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us.' But the other criminal rebuked him. 'Don't you fear God,' he said, 'since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong.' Then he said, 'Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom.' Jesus answered him, 'Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise.'" If we read the other Gospels, writings on the crucifixion of Christ, we know that both of the thieves started off by mocking Jesus. But while on the cross, one of them had the realization of how wrong he was. One criminal believed that he needed to be free from the consequences of his actions, which unfortunately was a painful death. Perhaps many of us would have done the same if we were in the same circumstance. But the other criminal knew truly what he needed. He recognized Christ's sovereignty and asked to be part of God's kingdom. Fortunately for him, he was asking El Roi, the God who sees, the God whose eyes have been on those who fear him and those who hope in his steadfast love since the beginning of time. Going beyond just remembering him, Christ reassured him that that very day they would be together in paradise. God sees those who need him. It's part of his love for us. Whether our needs come from unfortunate circumstances created by others, or those needs come from problems created by our own behavior, God sees us. So I want to encourage you today, even if it doesn't feel like it, keep faith. There's a God who sees your needs.